Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Thanks so much for stopping by, and today I'm going to share a snippet roll with you guys. This is my very first attempt at creating a snippet roll, and basically what snippet rolls are material rolled up, and then you add all sorts of snippets to it, whether they're images, laces, trims, buttons, charms, just whatever you have, appliques, whatever you have left over from your stash. And there are all sorts of wonderful tutorials and also just people sharing their snippet rolls here on YouTube. I will link a few people that I was inspired by below in the description box if you guys want to check them out. And one of them that I will be linking is Linda Israel. She is a junk journal artist and she does have a really nice tutorial. And so I kind of started my snippet roll based on her tutorial that she has out there. And also, I know a lot of people when they create their snippet rolls, they kind of use them as little wall hangings and they use them like that. I decided my snippet roll hopefully will be used in conjunction with a junk journal where you cut it up into pieces and throw it into a junk journal. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep it for myself or give it away. I just haven't decided yet. And so with that in mind, knowing that it's probably going to be cut up, that's kind of how I created it, thinking, well, you can make a pocket here, or you could use this as a belly band, or that's kind of what I was thinking. And so I did start off my snippet roll kind of the same as what Linda Israel did in her tutorial. She had kind of a base, and so for mine, I did also do, before I get too much further into it, I just did a little ribbon closure for mine, and recently I picked up a huge bag at the thrift store full of ribbons, and this was one of them in there, and it was long enough to be able to wrap around my little snippet. And so I just left it, and it was a little bit longer than what I would have liked, but I decided to leave it that way in case I do gift it to someone else, or if I use it myself, the tails and stuff on here are long enough so that you could actually use it again and cut it up and use pieces of it again for your tags or other pieces in your junk journals. And so getting back to it anyways, Linda's tutorial, she started off with a piece of material and then she added pieces of material on top of it. So I kind of did the same thing on the back side here. I did start with a piece of white muslin that I had a scrap left over from some other stuff, and it was long enough. And then, because I'm kind of weird and I like to make things look pretty, I did decide on the back side to make it look pretty. And I added a piece of lace on the back side. And it's actually just some lace trim that I purchased at Hobby Lobby quite a while ago. It's about 3.5 inches, and I use this a lot on my spines. There are people out there, and if I would have had enough little snippets of laces, I would have just kept on adding a piece and then keeping on going on the back side, but I didn't have enough snippets of laces to be able to do that for wide enough lace. So I just ended up using this one from my stash, but otherwise everything on the other side is all snippets. I didn't cut up any big pieces of lace or ribbon off of spools or anything to create the other side. So that was my base. And then on this side, the base, I did start off with kind of like what Linda Israel did in her tutorial. She just had a whole bunch of pieces of material and she just kept on going. So I did the exact same thing. You can see there's a white piece, there's a pink checkered piece, there's a white, there's a pink polka dotted one, and it kind of keeps on going. And so that's how I chose to do my base, kind of based on her tutorial. And then once I did my base, I went ahead and added where the seams were for each of my pieces of material. I went ahead and added just snippets of any laces or trims in my stash. So like you can see a pink one here. This one kind of got covered. Right here I have this white one. Here I have a rosette trim. So that's kind of, and it keeps on repeating itself as I open it. So I just wanted to go through that. And then once I did that, I started adding the embellishments. I went through and added some images that I had printed off a while ago. They're all of Marie Antoinette from a seller on Etsy. And they were round and they happened to fit in these little doilies that I cut apart a while ago. So I did sew them into there before I added them on. The majority of the items on this whole snippet roll were sewed on, but a few things were glued on. But most of it's sewed on. So here I have a little butterfly applique that I've had in my stash for a while. Here I added just another little piece of trim. I have a few buttons throughout. Again, here's that little doily that I added with the image in the middle. And there you can see some lace trim down here. That was a snippet. I added some charms. The little flower piece here in the middle is a craft supply for you, is left over from a design team. So I added that to a couple different doilies. The little pink one that you see showing out right here is something that my mom had crocheted me. She uses, whenever she has a little bit left from her other projects, she'll make me small little doily things that she crochets. And then behind there I have another little white applique. So that's the first little bit. And like here I was thinking if I were to use it in a junk journal, I possibly would just cut it somewhere right along here. And then you'd have a nice little pocket in your journal page. And so that was kind of my inspiration for that. And then the next couple little pieces here, I'm unrolling it here. We talked about this one here. I just layered up, I stamped the word dream on some fabric. It's actually like a paper canvas that I run through my printer. And I use that on my images, but then there's always some borders left over that aren't used, some paper scraps. And so what I do with those is I just cut them up and stamp words on them like this. And so I used it in here. There's some eyelash trim and some cheesecloth that were just left over from other projects. Sewed on another little button right there. And then you can kind of see the material behind there. Here's some leftover scraps from, again, another design team project for craft supplies for you right there. And then you can see the little bordering ribbon piece that I used to distinguish between the two different pieces of material. I have a cute little button that I got in some mail or in a swap from Handmade by Deanna Marie. I love these buttons. They're so cute and shabby. Another one of these little images, Marie Antoinette. Again, I just sewed it onto the doily. Added a little ribbon with a pearl on it that was left over from a past project. And again, I was thinking on these little pieces here, you could cut them up individually and use them somehow on your journals. And so I kind of had that in mind. And then here's the next little set here. And so again, I have some little buttons and I did some layering. There's some lace under there. There's some eyelash trim, some cheesecloth, another little snippet of lace. Again, I stamped on a leftover piece of that paper fabric that I run through, the canvas that I run through my printer to print my images. And I stamped on that, sewed around it. There's a little button that I hand sewed on there. And so again, I was thinking you could cut this up right here off of the snippet and use it somehow in your junk journal. Again, a pocket possibly, or, you know, a belly band in the middle of the page, and then you stick your journaling cards underneath it. So there's all sorts of possibilities for that. The next little sector, again, you could cut it right here. Kind of a repeat, you know, the same doily with an image in it. I have some material and lace behind there, another charm that I sewed on. Another one of those buttons that I got from Deanna Marie. And then we're almost to the end here. So here I just stuck a stick pin, and I got this stick pin from that same swap from Deanna Marie, and it just matched this whole little snippet roll. It was very shabby chic, and so I added it right there. So you'd just be able to take this out and use it, or again, you could just cut up this little piece and add it to your journal somehow. And then my last little piece is right here, and I just sewed on an applique that was left over. I believe this one came from a Craft Supply for You design team project, and it was one that I had used other parts of it and cut it up, so I just had that little piece left. So I sewed it on there. So this is my snippet roll, and then what I ended up doing, and I debated whether or not to like sew this on or glue it on like this so it actually stayed on my little spool permanently, but I decided not to do that because I wanted to be able to cut this up, and if it was glued on I wouldn't be able to do that. So I left it plain, and then I'm thinking if I were to keep this for myself, you could easily use this and decorate it, of course, make it into like a tassel or something, but then also if I were to gift it to someone, they'd be able to use it for some other crafting project. And so I just roll it up this way by rolling it around this little wood spool that I had. And all these little wood spools that I got, my mom actually found a baggie somewhere like at the thrift store, and so she gave me a whole bunch of those little spools. I have a few of them in different sizes, and this one just happened to be perfect because this is about 3.5 inches wide. And so that is my little snippet roll. So I also wanted to show you guys, so this is my finished snippet roll, but I made 2 at the same time because I had enough fabric pieces. And so I just wanted to show you kind of what it looked like before I started attaching all the little snippets and embellishments onto it. But here's what it looked like. Something very similar to this is what the other one looked like. Again, I just took all those scrap materials and sewed them on top of my base, and then I added the ribbons or laces wherever the material ended, or the transitions in the material. And so that's kind of what this one looks like. Again, just very basic right now. And my plan is I'm working on any type of shabby chic projects where I have leftover pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and sew them on right away onto this one. And then I'll probably finish it up again by adding some little trim edging or something around the edges on this one. But I just wanted to show you kind of what it looked like to begin with. So again, here's kind of one more zoomed out look of the whole snippet roll. If you are wondering, this one ended up being 36 inches long. And the only reason why I chose that size was just the size of the material piece that I had. And I just went with what scrap I had. And so again, I'll just kind of slide it over so you guys can kind of see the whole snippet roll when it's out. It's too big to show on the whole camera, but I did want to show you guys that. So again, here is what my little snippet roll looks like all rolled up. I appreciate everyone watching my video today. And again, I will link a few different people's videos below in the description box if you guys are interested in checking out some of the other ladies out there that have some snippet rolls on YouTube. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting.